You know, today we're going to dive into a question that's so fundamental, so close to home, that most of us actually never even think to ask it. We're going to start an investigation into the very nature of awareness itself, to really try and figure out what's going on behind our eyes. So let's start right here with this very direct question. As you're listening to my voice, as you're seeing this, you're having an experience. Simple enough, right? But what is it that's aware of that experience? Just let that question hang in the air for a second. Now, your first reaction is probably something like, well, I am, of course, duh. And that feels right, it feels obvious. But as we're about to find out, the moment you start to really poke at that simple answer, that solid ground you thought you were on, it just kind of dissolves into this fascinating mystery. All right, section 1, let's properly begin our little inquiry with this simple, but honestly incredibly profound question. It's really the foundation for everything that's about to follow. Seriously, think about it. Right now, there's a constant river of experiences flowing through you. The sights in the room, maybe some background noise, your own thoughts popping up, feelings, all of these are things. They're objects. They are things that are being known. So the real question is, what's doing the knowing? What is that background presence that's aware of all this stuff? Okay, so this naturally leads us to the most common way we think about this knower. It's this intuitive idea that we all kind of have, and it feels right. But as we're about to see, it has a huge logical flaw. We almost instinctively feel like there's a little me sitting somewhere inside our skull, maybe right behind the eyes, at a big control panel. And this little me is watching the movie of life as it plays out on the screen of our senses. This little observer, sometimes called the homunculus, feels like the one in charge, the one who is actually aware. But here is the logical trap, and it's a doozy. Okay, so there's a little observer in your head watching your thoughts. Fine. But then you have to ask, what's watching that observer's experience? Is there an even smaller observer inside its head and inside that one? You see the problem. It just goes on forever and ever. It's what's called an infinite regress, and it explains absolutely nothing. It just keeps kicking the can down the road. And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical game. Scientists have literally searched the brain, looking for a single spot, a command center where everything comes together for this central viewer to experience. And they've never found it. What they find instead is a hugely complex, decentralized network. There is no single throne of consciousness in the brain. So if there's no little person in the head, maybe the answer is a lot simpler. Maybe the brain itself is what's aware, or our sense of self, our personality. Let's take a closer look at that idea. This really shows the core issue. On one hand, you have the brain. It's a physical object. You can weigh it, you can point to its location. But awareness? It has none of those qualities. It has no size, no weight, no location you can point to. The brain is what generates the content of our experience, the thoughts, the images, but awareness seems to be the space in which all of that content appears. They're just not the same kind of thing. Okay, so what about yourself, your identity, your personality? Well, let's look at all the things that make up you. Your name, your memories, your character traits, your beliefs, your feelings, even the sensations in your body. Every single one of these is something you can observe. You can notice a feeling. You can think about a memory. And if you can observe it, that means it's an object appearing in your awareness. So it can't be the awareness itself. Here's a really powerful thought experiment. Just imagine you got amnesia and forgot your entire life story. Everything about who you think you are, just gone. Your personal identity would have vanished. But the raw capacity to be aware, the simple knowing of light, of sound, of the present moment, that would still be there, completely untouched. This shows us that awareness is actually more fundamental than the personal story we call me. All right, so we've crossed a few big things off the list. No little observer in the head. It's not just the brain. It's not our personal self. So this forces us to change tactics. Instead of trying to find out what awareness is, let's just investigate what it's like. What are its actual qualities or lack of qualities? Just think about this contrast. Our experiences, thoughts, sounds, feelings, they're constantly changing. One minute you're happy, the next you're worried. But the awareness that knows all of that, it's completely stable. The knowing quality you have right now is the exact same knowing quality you had when you were 5 years old. It hasn't aged a day. Experiences have qualities like blue or loud or sad, but awareness itself has no quality. It's just clear, open, ever present. This is the perfect analogy for it. Think of a movie screen. The screen itself allows for every possible scene to play on it. A love story, a war, a comedy, but the screen itself is never made happy by the wedding scene, and it's never burned by the explosions in the movie. It remains completely untouched. Awareness is just like that screen, holding all of our life experiences without ever becoming them. So we end up with these kind of strange characteristics, don't we? Awareness is formless. It's impersonal. It doesn't belong to you any more than the sky belongs to one particular cloud. It's timeless and completely stable. And yet somehow, it is the most intimate thing there is. It's closer to you than your own thoughts, than your own breath. And all of this leads us straight into the core philosophical puzzle at the heart of this whole investigation. It's the very reason this question is so slippery and difficult to get a handle on in the first place. Think of it this way. Everything you can possibly know or perceive is an object. A thought is an object. A tree is an object. A sound is an object. The one that's doing the knowing is the subject. Here's the paradox. Awareness is the ultimate pure subject. It's the background knowing itself. So it can never be turned around and made into an object that you can look at, because what would be looking at it?
This is such a great way to understand it. It's like an eye trying to see itself. I mean, the eye is the very thing that does the seeing. It can see everything else in the world, but it can't turn around and look directly at itself. Not without a mirror, anyway. Awareness is that eye.
Or here's another powerful image. It's like a sword trying to cut itself. It's just a logical and physical impossibility. The very tool of cutting can't be the object that gets cut. The tool of knowing can't be the object that is known. And this leads us to the crucial insight. We can't know awareness by finding it as some thing out there. The way we know awareness is much more direct, much more intimate. We know it simply by being it. The eye knows seeing by seeing. Awareness knows itself by simply being aware. Okay, so where does all this leave us? We've deconstructed our most common ideas, and we've landed smack in the middle of a paradox. So let's talk about what the implication of this whole investigation really is. Maybe the point of all this was never to find a neat, tidy, conceptual answer like awareness is the brain or awareness is energy. The deepest realization might be that the real value, the real transformation, comes from the investigation itself. The act of sincerely asking the question points us directly back to the simple, miraculous, and ever-present reality of awareness, the very thing we tend to overlook in our frantic search for answers. And so, we end right where we began, with this question. But hopefully, after all this, it lands a little differently now. It's not so much a riddle that you need to solve. It's more like an open door, an invitation to simply notice the vast, silent, knowing presence in which your entire life is unfolding. So, what is aware of your experience right now? The question itself is the answer.